Welcome to the Steelers by the Lake podcast. My name is James Strong, joined once again by my co-host Cody Tanner on this Saturday evening. Now, Cody, we already recorded this morning. Now we're recording again.
We are.
First, our 53-man roster prediction. If you haven't checked it out, do so. Now, post-game recap show. Cody, how are you this afternoon? You were good this morning. Are you still good now?
I'm good. I'm tired.
Right.
Went and did some work. The church that I'm a part of is opening up a new church, and so we were putting the building together, putting up some drywall, taking some planks off the wall, painting, stuff like that. A nail got me real good today. You can see that if you're on YouTube. But no, it was a good time. I'm still good. I'm a little tired now, but I'm good. I might have to go get a little pump in, get a little workout after this.
There you go.
But James, how are you? I'm
doing good, man.
Good. I'm happy you're good. Disclosure, because of doing this church thing, I was not able to watch the whole game. I did see highlights after the fact. I also had it up on my phone sitting close by and would go over and peek every now and then, saw a couple of the nice plays of the first two drives. And then afterwards, there wasn't much to see apparently anyways. So, I mean, that is what it is. And we'll get to that. We will go over this final preseason game and discuss specific players and how the team looked and this and that. But before that, we do have some Steelers news in general. We talked about this a little bit earlier, James, with the 53-man roster that Nate Herbig is on the IR now and will be ending his season already. It's very unfortunate. I don't think that's as big of a blow as it would have been if it was his brother, but it's still unfortunate.
And it sucks for your depth on the interior, because even if you were going to start Zach Frazier, Nate Herbig would have probably been your top backup interior offensive lineman at that point. So it does still hurt the interior depth. So you don't like to see that happen to anybody, but especially somebody you would have counted on as a top quality backup, if not the starter at center. So tough to see. Just wanted to say real quick, interesting that you're doing a church function and you have wrist injuries from a nail. There's a certain other guy that had that too.
Oh, stop it.
Well, no,
don't compare the two. I'm not. Don't even.
Anyway, Anthony Averett also waived injured. That was a corresponding move there at the same time as Nate Herbig. So he's no longer going to be able to make the 53 also. They signed a defensive lineman by the name of Marcus Haynes and a middle linebacker by the name of Kayahun Tazino. Apparently, he just played in the UFL, pretty good in the UFL. He was number 33 today if you were watching the game. He did make a few plays.
Yeah.
So he's running around out there.
I watched the highlights, saw him running around. He's doing stuff. He's
out there making it happen a little bit, trying to.
Yeah. James, you want to know what I think is funny here? And I'll mention this real briefly before we go into these game notes. You know what? I'll wait until we get to that point because we'll talk about the players.
Let's do it.
But again, if you haven't watched that 53-man roster prediction yet, go check it out. We're about to talk about the players that played in this game, which was more than 53. We're not going to talk about all of them. But
let's talk about who didn't play in this game first, just to get it out of the way so people have a reference point. So as far as the offense, everyone played but Jaylen Warren with that hamstring injury. There was no point in rushing him out there. Let's give him a couple more weeks to rest, recover, and be able to hopefully play week one. On defense, Cameron Hayward did not play. Minkah Fitzpatrick did not play. TJ Watt did not play. Alex Highsmith did not play. And Joey Porter Jr. also got the game off because you don't need to see any more from him. He's good.
Nope, he's good.
What they wanted to see was who's capable of stepping in these guys' places. We got some answers today. we
not always the good ones.
Well, and honestly, I think they were good as far as who's capable of filling in for first team.
I think on the defensive side of the ball, absolutely. Yeah.
And even a little bit on offense too. You know, that second team offense came through and they went right down the field too. So, I mean, first team offense, Russell Wilson gets one drive. That's it. That's all he needed. Drove them right down the field. They finished with a touchdown. Some real crisp throwing the ball down the field. He didn't drop it off to people, which is great. Hit George Pickens a couple times. Would have had him a third time, but there was a reversal. There was a penalty on a play, so it didn't go through. And just it was very, very good rhythm to the drive. Najee Harris started off with a 5-yard run that looked like it was stuffed, and then he kept driving his legs, and then the offensive lineman came in and pushed the pile, and what was going to be maybe a 1-yard run ended up a 5-yard run. Yep. That's the infectious thing that we've been asking for like 4 or 5 years. That's what we've been asking for. And now you're starting to see that, and who's in the middle of that pile pushing it? Zach Frazier.
Ooh, let's go.
So you're seeing rookies change the tide. We saw this with Broderick Jones last year. Broderick Jones had that attitude of get in the pile and push the pile. Now we have that with Zach Frazier as well. Will we have that with Troy Fautanu too when he gets into the lineup? I bet we will.
Yeah.
And if that's the case, and you've got three anchors studs on that offensive line that are all 30 rep plus guys on the bench,
yep,
you're going to move some piles and you're going to really be successful in the run game. So
that's what we want.
Love seeing that. And love seeing that long touchdown run by Cordarrelle Patterson, right?
Yep.
31 yards. He ran it over the left guard. We saw Zach Frazier seal off the inside. Isaac Seumalo sealed off the outside. Big old gaping hole for Cordarrelle Patterson to run through. And as he's getting near the end zone, it looked pretty explosive. I'll give him credit. The guy did not look slow on the play.
Yeah.
Who do you see coming up and still blocking people 30 yards downfield? Darnell Washington. So all around great blocking on the play, and love the hustle from Darnell to try to escort him all the way until he was in the end zone.
Yeah.
Thrilled with what we saw from that first string offensive line. And again, in case you didn't get a chance to see it, that would have been Dan Moore on the left, Isaac Seumalo left guard, Zach Frazier starting center, right guard James Daniels, right tackle, in a much improved performance, Broderick Jones.
Yep. James, first team and second team offense. It's my saying that I've been saying for a few months now. Oh my Lanta, man. Wow, were they out showing off today. 2 drives, 2 touchdowns in those first 2, I should say the first 2 drives, 2 touchdowns. Russell Wilson went 2 for 2 for 26. Like you said, he would have gone 3 for 3. Justin Fields came in. He played I don't know how many drives specifically because I wasn't able to watch, but I know he played 2. Okay, I knew he played more than 1. Yeah. Wound up going 3 for 4 for 40 yards. He also ran twice and got 4 yards out of that. And then luckily we also got to see Kyle Allen and John Rhys Plumlee in this game, which was exciting to see. John Rhys Plumlee, 3 of 4 for 32 yards. Kyle Allen, 3 of 5 for 68. Kyle Allen also was sack fumbled once, did lose the ball, which was unfortunate. Was it him or was it Plumlee? It was him.
No, I'm pretty sure it was Kyle Allen.
It was Kyle Allen. Yeah. And so, I mean, with that being said, that was a good showing from the quarterback position. And what that shows me, James, specifically, I mean, if you do the math here, so let's look at this. So that's 9, 11 for, what's math? 6, 8, 11 for 13? 11 for 15. I'm bad at math right now.
It's good completion percentage.
8, 10. Yeah, 11 for 15. That's great. What that shows me, and that's a massive amount of positive yardage compared to what we've been seeing in the past few games, in the past 2 games with dump offs and things like that. This is showing me that, hey, we actually can call plays downfield and, position guys to be open and stuff like that. Now, obviously Detroit didn't play all their starters on defense or anything like that. We didn't see their big edge rushers or things like that. But this still showed me enough that I'm a little bit more confident going into the regular season, because I almost felt like we weren't calling plays to push the ball downfield in these first 2 preseason games. Now it looks like we actually are. So I am very excited about that.
And the only difference between the first team offense and the second team offense, we saw Spencer Anderson come in at left guard for Isaac Seumalo. The other 4 linemen stayed static. Najee Harris came out, and you saw some Cordarrelle Patterson, some of the other guys, and George Pickens came out. You saw a heavy dose of Van Jefferson, and then you started to see like Michael Pruitt sneaking into the lineup as well. In fact, we saw Justin Fields hit Pruitt over the middle on a nice long play.
Yep.
Looked very sharp. Yeah. So they both looked comfortable in the pocket. The offensive line, both of those units did a nice job of protecting those guys and giving them time. And I felt way more confident with what I saw on that than I did the first 2 games.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how this plays out. Will Troy Fautanu be healthy for week 1? And if he is, do they start him over Broderick Jones? How does that go? That's my only real question right now. Otherwise, this is all solidified. Another big question that we had, Cody, was what were we going to see at center, right?
Yep.
So second center in was Ryan McCollum, who used to be the 3rd string center. And when Ryan McCollum came in, we also saw at left tackle Devery Henderson, big old number 67. We did not see Dylan Cook in this game, which was unfortunate because Devery Henderson was bad. And that's why Justin Fields did not see a 3rd drive, because Henderson was getting beat so bad that they did not want to see him get injured. If you're going to have somebody get injured, it needs to be your not your second stringer. So yep. Kyle Allen, unfortunately, did not have very good protection. Spencer Anderson even got some opportunities out of right tackle that didn't look good either. He was great in the inside, as he has been all preseason. Right tackle was a little sloppy for him. So,
yeah,
I think he's best suited to stay inside.
yeah. It'll be interesting to see how this offense. I mean, offensive line is the one thing that I think is very fluent after your top 6 or 7 guys. I think there's a couple guys that Pittsburgh could be like, let's take a chance on him and keep him. Now, I mean, we went over our 53 this morning. We talked about who the guys we believe they'll keep. But there's a couple of those, 8th and 9th guy on that list that there's a chance maybe they make a switch. Maybe they go in a different direction. Spencer Anderson has been a part of this team for a while. Cook, we didn't even get to see.
2nd year.
Excuse me, you're right.
He was rookie last year. Yeah.
But did Spencer Anderson spend any time on the practice squad last year?
No, he was on the active roster all year.
I couldn't remember. Yeah. There was one that we had elevated a couple times.
Yeah, maybe Dylan Cook might have moved around a little bit.
It might have been Dylan Cook.
Maybe that's who you're thinking of.
It probably was. I know that somebody was moved around a lot, and like it almost felt like it's the guy. It's your backup. It's like the backup's backup, someone to make sure you're there in case an injury happens and stuff like that. And maybe they're willing to go a different direction. Maybe we see a different 8th or 9th guy on that offensive line moving forward. Let's talk running backs.
Before we move off of the offensive line, one last guy I want to talk about real quick. Mason McCormick was again in that 2nd unit, coming in, played a lot at left guard. He got a long burn, and when he was done at left guard, he only got a couple series off and then played almost the entire 4th quarter as the center. Looked very comfortable doing so. His snaps were good. Looked like nobody was beating him on the inside. After having a shaky first game, I feel like Mason McCormick had a very good 2nd game and a very good 3rd game. It makes me feel a lot more comfortable about the depth of that interior.
And let's talk about, if people are going to look at the game and be concerned about things, you remember that first preseason game, we got to see those 2 fumbles from Justin Fields. There was a stat line that'll go down as a fumble on Justin Fields in this game. James, you and I talked about it before the show when I was watching the replay and the highlights. A snap count issue. The snap was right where it needed to be. Justin Fields didn't fumble it. It was just miscommunication.
Snap came too early. That's all it was. You could see Spencer Anderson was left guard at the time, and I think this was the 3rd drive and the reason they didn't score on that one. Spencer Anderson was still giving assignments out to the offensive lineman of who's picking up who, and the ball came, and Justin Fields wasn't ready for it, and neither was Spencer Anderson. So that leads me to believe that Zach Frazier just snapped it too early. So easy to have happen. The announcers were indicating they thought they were on a silent count, which means you're looking for some kind of foot movement or a hand motion or something.
Well, and
so just something that you get used to over time.
And we had a little bit of our movement that normally has indicated some kind of snap. I don't know if that was off. It doesn't matter what was off. It wasn't Justin Fields' fault. It was just a miscommunication in some way, shape, or form. That's all I care about. That's an easy fix. Looking at the running backs now, James, Cordarrelle Patterson led with 31 yards. He had that touchdown run. He averaged 10 yards per carry. Great for him on 3 carries. We'll take that. LaMichael Pirine had the other touchdown in the game, 6 carries for 16 yards. Didn't run quite as hard, but that one touchdown run did look good. It looked like it might have been another option run play where Fields could have kept it, whatever. But Pirine did get the score. Shamplin, I didn't see any of his 7 runs, but he had 13 yards, not a great average, 1.86. I don't know if you saw anything else out of some of these guys that you want to talk about.
I would say the holes just weren't there for them. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that they got those third string offensive linemen in pretty early.
Yeah.
So that's the unit that we've seen struggle the most. That makes sense because most of them, I don't think any of them are going to make the roster unless Ryan McCollum is kept as the center. And B, if they do, maybe one or two of them is good enough to be on the practice squad. And even at that, if you get so banged up that you have to rely on one of those guys, you're probably looking at street free agents for an improvement.
Yeah.
So none of those guys are guys you're writing home.
Yeah. Did we talk about Broderick? Did you talk about Broderick now? I know we talked pre-show that he looked.
I briefly mentioned that he had a drastically improved game.
Yep.
I thought he was good in this game. I didn't see any time where he was the reason somebody got sacked. I thought he cleaned things up very nicely, and we should feel a lot better about Broderick Jones after that game. Granted, he was not going against the competition he was the last 2 weeks.
Yeah,
Gregory
true.
Rousseau and Danielle Hunter, that's a lot tougher competition.
Very true.
But yeah, he did. You can only do so well with what you're going against, right? And he did well against what he was going against. So give him credit for that.
Yep. Let's talk about these receivers, James. And this is the part that's going to become interesting as we move on. Des Fitzpatrick led the team with 64 yards receiving on 2 receptions from 2 targets. George Pickens had 2 catches for 26 yards. I think both of those, again, obviously that first drive coming from Russell Westbrook, that was his 26 yards. Michael Pruitt had that 22-yard catch. Van Jefferson had 2 catches for 18 yards. J. Ray Jenkins had a lovely sideline catch for 17 yards. Quez Watkins had 1 catch for 10 yards. Scotty Miller only 2 for 9. And then Jacob Copeland and Connor Hayward both had missed catches on targets. The big thing here, James, is Des Fitzpatrick had himself a game for 2 catches on 2 targets, putting up 64 yards.
He did again, and he made some. So nice performance.
He made some what?
Made some tackles on kick coverage, both punt and kick. He looked good on both of those units. So this was the game that Des Fitzpatrick needed. He needed a good game so that he would be able to try to get that last spot in the wide receiver room. I think Des really created an excellent case for himself in this game, especially on that long pass play on the right sideline where he caught it and then he cut back and he got an extra 20 yards after the catch. Really showed off his athleticism. And it seems to have a really nice presence on where the sideline is and keeping those feet in bounds.
Yeah. Unfortunately, still no stat line for any of our big tight ends. I mean, obviously, Pruitt had the 1 catch. We talked about that. I'd like to see Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington get some throws down the middle of the field. But hopefully that comes in the regular season, as we're not going to see it in the preseason anymore because this is the last preseason game. So excited for that potentially in the future. James, let's transition over to the defensive side of the ball, that defensive line. I felt like the defensive front, from what I was able to watch at the beginning of the game and then what I saw in the highlights, that first and second team defense, well, not even first team, since, a lot of that starter on the defensive front were out, being Cam Hayward, TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. But those guys that were starting destroyed Detroit's offensive line. I mean, Nick Herbig on the first drive had a sack fumble, 2 sacks total.
2 sacks.
2 sacks, a sack fumble. I mean, they were all over the place. I felt like their quarterback didn't have a lot of time to throw the ball. And if he did, he had to do something. He had to get out of the pocket or step up into it because it was crashing on him most of the time.
Yeah, I would describe that first defensive series and the second defensive series as swarming from that defensive front. A combination both of defensive linemen and the linebackers just doing an incredible job pressuring. Nick Herbig looked awesome in this game, Cody. You would have been so proud of your boy, Nick, because not only did he get those 2 sacks, he could have had more. He was just getting back there so quickly. Keanu Benton, again, gets a cleanup and a half sack that he shared with, I believe, DeMarvin Leal. So both of those guys, again, putting in nice performances. DeMarvin Leal actually started at outside linebacker in this game. He was the outside linebacker opposite Nick Herbig. He kind of low-key got some snaps there last week as well.
Yeah,
he started there this week.
Interesting.
So very interesting development there. Are they viewing him now more as an outside linebacker than a defensive lineman? Possibly.
I mean, there was the discussion in the offseason of him making that transition. So maybe now they believe he's got slimmed down enough and and can make that transition. So, I mean, that'll put a wrench in our 53-man roster predictions for sure.
Yes, it will, especially mine. Gosh.
I mean,
and then that second team defensive unit, you had Julius Welshoff and Kyron Johnson. And a couple of times, Welshoff benefited from Kyron Johnson getting in there so fast that the quarterback had no choice but to step up. And when he stepped up, he was right in the arms of Julius Welshoff. So great effort from Welshoff. I did hear that he had a knee in this game. No indication as to how bad the knee was. Could be a minor little tweak that might impact his chances of making the 53 if it's an injury that's significant enough that he wouldn't be ready for the beginning of the season. I could see them just like putting him on the IR or something just to stash him for a few weeks before allowing him to come back.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because you talked about Kyron Johnson being on your 53-man roster, Welshoff doesn't count towards the 53. He does.
He would if he made the 53, but he does not count on the practice squad. You would get an extra player on the practice squad if that's where you put him. Welshoff got 2 sacks in this game, man. Yeah. You can't be more happy for the guy.
No, and knee injury aside, I don't think he had a chance to the 53, only because of the fact that he doesn't cost them a roster spot on that practice squad. I think that's where they want to start him out at to see what happens. Whether they keep 4 or 5 outside linebackers, whether DeMarvin Leal's an outside linebacker or not. I think they got their top 3 on lock. And then you throw one of those other guys in as the 4th, Kyron or...
You're thinking Jeremiah Moon, who did not play in this game, which I'm wondering if that's an injury.
Yeah, you're right. He was on my 50.
Yeah.
Son of a gun.
Yeah.
Anyways, there's a lot of
I didn't
options.
see him anyway. I didn't see him the whole game. I don't think he played.
That's fine. It's whatever. Unfortunate. Middle linebackers. We obviously did Patrick Queen play in this game?
He did. He started with Elandon Roberts.
Okay. And
then Queen came out, and Elandon Roberts then got some reps with Mark Robinson. Mark Robinson got to play on that second team unit. And he was the one that got beat for the first touchdown. He was unable to identify the running back coming out in the flat as his responsibility. And just was like 10 yards away from when the guy had an easy catch.
Unfortunate.
Outside of that, I thought he looked pretty good. And Patrick Queen had like a couple nice plays, and then he was out of the game pretty quickly. Again, you don't really need to see a lot from Patrick Queen.
Yeah.
That's more just getting his chemistry with Elandon Roberts down more than anything.
Yeah. And Detroit started their 3rd string quarterback. He played, in my opinion, like a 2nd string. He played fairly well. For the most part, especially against our 3 and 4s. Don't get me wrong, we're all upset that Pittsburgh lost this game. Like, we don't want to win. But anyone that's like writings on the wall for Mike Tomlin or this or that, this game showed a lot.
Attention to the game.
For me, someone who's still heavy on Mike Tomlin and performing, and I'm tired of just barely being over 500. I want to see us go out there and put up points. We put up 14 points in the first 6 minutes. And then, I mean, after that, it's all backups. I got to see enough in this game that showed me we can do something with the ball on offense. We can actually have a game plan. We can push the ball downfield. We can run the ball effectively with that starting offensive line at least. So I'm excited to see what happens. And again, we were missing 4 Pro Bowl players on defense. Like,
crazy when you put it like that, huh?
Yeah, I mean,
that starting defense and the 2nd string defense and even some 3rd stringers were swarming, and you didn't have 4 of your best defenders on the field. So yeah,
that's good news. That's good news for everybody.
I guess you're 5 of your best if you're counting Porter too, right?
Yeah. So 5.
Yeah, and that brings me. I know. Are we going corner? Quarterback room next.
Corner. Yeah.
Because I don't think there's really a lot more to talk about. Linebacker Peyton Wilson didn't play in this game. He cleared concussion protocol, but they didn't allow him to play, which I don't hate that. I think that's a pretty good idea to protect the young man, give him a few more weeks of no collision to make sure he's fully recovered from whatever that was, whether it was a concussion or just making sure that the symptoms were not a full concussion. Whatever, be safe with the dude. Yeah. Corey Trice started this game, Cody. I don't know if I said that already or not.
You didn't, and I didn't notice it on the replays. So
Corey Trice started opposite of Dante Jackson, and they were both great. There was a couple of opportunities for Corey Trice to make some plays early on. One, he had a tackle for loss on a run play, and then they tried throwing a screen pass against him. And this is the second time we've seen that this preseason, where I would not suggest throwing a screen pass at Corey Trice because these wide receivers cannot block him, man. He throws these boys aside, and he goes and gets the wide receiver, and it's a loss every time. Your best bet is to not catch the ball if you're throwing a wide receiver screen to his side. Just slap it down to the ground and take the incomplete pass. Otherwise, he's going to get you for a loss. Very impressive play from Corey Trice. I didn't see him get tested really down the field at all. And I also understand that he suffered a groin injury of some sort, but he was walking around on the sidelines as if it wasn't that big of a deal. So my guess is a minor tweak. Hopefully he'll be ready for week 1, because I think we should feel a lot better about where Corey Trice is right now, having seen a little bit more of him in the preseason here and seeing that they had faith to put him up there with Dante Jackson in the first team defense ahead of everybody else that's on the roster. Loved what I saw out of him.
Yeah. Exciting to see these younger corners getting quality playtime, performing well. There was a couple corners that I think blitzed and almost got to the cornerback, or blitzed and it was a run play and almost broke it up in the backfield. A lot of potential seen out of these cornerbacks, these younger cornerbacks, and what they could potentially offer the team. Excited for that. I don't have anything else from the cornerback room outside of Cam Sutton getting that pick. Cam Sutton was in a good spot. A ball got deflected or dropped, whatever you want to call it. Cam got the pick, returned it for a good amount of yards. That's the last we'll see him for 9 weeks. So,
yep. And Darius Rush got some burn early in the game too. So you got to think that he is probably fighting for that spot, getting that back end of the corner rotation. It went as far as the nickel corners. We saw, what's his name? Thomas Graham first, and then Beanie Bishop after him.
Thomas Graham Jr.
So that was, Thomas Graham Jr.
Our entire cornerback room is juniors.
There's a lot of them, yeah.
Corey Trice Jr., Joey Porter Jr., Beanie Bishop Jr., Thomas Graham Jr.
Lots of juniors, man. I'll keep them.
Yeah,
I'll keep them. No big splash plays from either one of the nickel juniors. So
no,
both of them were just kind of there tackling guys after the catch. No pass breakups. No crazy plays behind the line of scrimmage. I thought both of them looked fine, but not great.
Yeah, Kyler McMichael and Dean Lowry both did have pass breakups.
Yes. Kyler's was pretty good. He was in good position, and instead of playing the ball, he played the hands. So that's what you're taught. If you can't get your eyes on the ball as a defender, then you play the hands. Wait for the ball to get in there and rake it out. That's exactly what he did. So it was a nice job on his part. He was right there, right in that guy's hip pocket. So nice sticky coverage on that play by McMichael.
I don't have anything to say about the safeties. I didn't see a whole lot. I think Deshaun Elliott had a breakup that I saw. It didn't count as a pass breakup, but he had a good play. Ryan Watts went out with an injury late in the game, looked real upset about it.
Yeah, it looked scary at the time. The only reason I wasn't super scared when it happened is because he was kicking his legs, but he wasn't really moving his upper body at all. To me, I was like, I hope and I think this is a stinger, because what I understand, I've never had one, but I understand those can hurt real bad.
Yep.
He was able to walk off the field. He was kind of hanging his head down like this a bit, his neck all hunched forward. After the game, Tomlin did describe it as thinking it was a stinger, but he was still being evaluated for it. So hopefully for the young man's sake, that's all it is, just a stinger, which would mean he'd be fine for week 1, assuming he were able to make the 53-man roster. He saw some time as a gunner too, so looked like they were trying to figure out, is this roster spot available here or not?
No, it does Fitzpatrick making the 53.
Right? Might be sacrificing in other positions, guys, you know?
Yeah, I might have to. Chris Boswell was 2 for 2 on extra points. Matthew Wright was 1 for 1 on field goals. Good to go there. Cameron Johnston, 6 punts, 53 was his long. 3 of them were inside the 20. Good punting from him. Didn't expect anything different. On kick and punt return, John Rice Plumlee, two kickoff returns, 1 for 38 yards. The concern there is there a roster spot for him?
I don't think there is.
As a returner, I don't think there is. There's no. There can't be.
No, I don't think there is.
Unless you're gonna do something unless you're gonna trade Allen or do something I don't know. You're not gonna keep 4 quarterbacks just to have one of them return kicks. So
yeah.
Interesting to see what's going on there. We will be on the lookout for more things. Again, for those of you that don't know, there is a bye week now. We do not have a game next week, but we will be playing the week after at Atlanta. Arthur Smith, our new offensive coordinator, goes back to the team where he was formerly your head coach, and we will be excited for that. That is in Atlanta, obviously. I believe that's a 1:00 kick.
I can find it very quickly for you because I'm in the schedule. Yes, it is a 1:00 kick.
So 1:00. And
on Fox.
On Fox, and that is September 8th that we will be having football back. So be excited. We are very excited to have football back. We're excited. I think I'm more excited now after seeing some success. This preseason was pitiful before this game. So seeing the success from both those first 2 drives is very exciting. We hope you guys are excited. If you guys have anything to talk about or share about the game or your thoughts on this year, any kind of crazy guess or bold predictions, let us know. Email us at steelersbylake@gmail.com or send us a private message on any of our social medias. We would love to talk and reach out to you guys and communicate and just enjoy some football talk. James, you got anything else to say?
No, that's it, buddy. I'm excited. Regular season's on its way. We'll have another show for you in between now and that first regular season game. So stay tuned. That's coming on its way soon. That'll be probably the breakdown and looking forward to that first game.
Yep. Can't thank you guys enough for being here and listening and watching. If you're on YouTube, this is the first time I think we've ever done 2 shows in a day. So that's fun. But thank you guys so much for listening and watching. Be sure to like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube. Subscribe, click the bell, ring the bell. It's free. Don't cost you a thing. Don't forget the 5-star reviews on Apple Podcasts and Facebook if you're feeling friendly. James will love those very much. And until next time, this is your host, James and Cody, signing off.
Peace.
Steelers by the lake. Now it's on. I'll wait for you up any time. Steelers by the lake. Now it's time.